We had a nickname for that side of town, Exit 29, the Myrtle Driveway. My father, he was a drug dealer, but he really wasn't in my life too much because he was in prison.
Before I started hanging out, I spent a lot of time in my project window just looking outside. We lived on the 8th floor, so my mom was always worried because it was gunshots all the time. Somebody was always getting killed or jumping off of roofs or raped, or sometimes it was drugs.
I found her, she was in the bathroom. I was only 5 years old, but you know how you're away from your mother so long? I knocked on the door and she didn't answer. So I called for my grandmother, like, something's wrong. So grandmother, she calls the ambulance. The ambulance come, they kick in the door, and I see her lying there with the needle in her arm.
We were just kids, so we didn't realize that the colorful tops that was, spread everywhere, all over the place, was drugs. We thought they was something to play with. Like 8 or 9 years old is when I started to get attracted to outside.
My grandparents having to raise my cousins and all, it was kind of, too much for them. So I took to the streets to look for a family because my family was so messed up. Now, it was 7 of us, friends, basically brothers. There was a field that was in the middle of the highway that we used to play football in. And across the street from my grandparents' house was this junkyard that we used to play in. We used to find parts for like bikes and mopeds and dirt bikes and things like that. And we would bring them home, we would put them together so that they was working, and we'll sell them. Also, we were kind of like young hustlers. So we would shovel snow, deliver newspapers, basically wherever it took, to make money. At times, we would sleep in abandoned warehouses and, we'll build fires to keep warm. And we'll go to the corner store, we'll buy like $1 worth of cheese and meat and a loaf of bread just so that we can eat.
I used to look out the window and see this and be like, all right, this is what's going on out here. You know what I mean? But really what I saw, what I was attracted to was what the material things that they had from this lifestyle was like the flashy cars that used to go up and down Washington Avenue. And back in the 80s, in the 90s, like they would have, like the big drug dealers or whatever would have lights up under their cars and booming systems banging in their car. And that's what attracted to, because you would see these neon lights up under their cars and the sounds and the flashy clothes and the women. I saw that and I thought that those were benefits of being that kind of dude.
My grandma was a very old person, so she really could never provide me with a structure that I should have had. So I was just wandering the streets. I wound up seeing people make a lot of money off this new epidemic thing called crack. I wanted to be like them. Money, cars, and jewelry. These were my idols.
The majority of the buildings in my projects has 20 floors, and then it's 5 apartments on each floor. So when you think about that, you can just picture people stacked on top of people, and the congestion that is, and how that causes anger and frustration. And then because it's so much people stacked on top of each other, and everybody's congested like that. When you become angry or frustrated, you take that anger and frustration out on people who look just like you in your own community.
My mother, before she passed, she was dating this guy named Greg. Greg had a sister. Her name was Blanche. I call her mom now. She took me in and raised me in a different part of Bridgeport. She was 22 when she took me in. She went to college. She had a lot of degrees. She lived in a different part of Bridgeport, more like the suburbs. But I would still go back and forth to the other side of town. So I took it as I grew up on both sides of the fence, a good area and a bad area.
I remember when I was about 11 years old, running in and out the house all night long, basically doing what the hell I want to do. At that point in my life, I started selling drugs, stealing cars, committing petty thefts. Really none that big.
I was raised with morals and standards and respect, the whole gamut. But my mom was a single mom, so she raised me, on her own, me and my brother. But I was raised differently, and I noticed it when I was a child that a lot of the people that I chose to hang out with, not all my close friends, because some of my close friends had some really close, real strict parents, but a lot of the other people that I chose to hang out with, their parents allowed them to just, run amok, do whatever they wanted.
The summer of 1988, my first time getting shot. I remember it was like yesterday. It was this old guy, I guess he robbed this younger guy. So I was walking up the street and one person started shooting at the other. And I didn't realize that I had got shot. It just felt like somebody just punched me in the stomach like real hard and I couldn't breathe. So, and I didn't fall, but this guy came out of nowhere and he threw me to the ground and he started shooting back at the older guy. So after everything was said and done, he picks me up and he's like, "You're hit." And I'm like, "No, I'm all right." No, he's like, "No, you're hit." And I'm like, "No, I'm all right." And he's like, "No, listen, you're hit." And then I look and I see the blood dripping and I'm like, "Oh, I'm hit."
Ronnie King was just a catalyst that caused that explosion. So now I'm looting and riding. I ride and I looted so hard that I wound up going back to juvenile hall. I got out within a week, sometimes that same day.
And then there's this cop, and he's telling me that once I get out of here, I'm going to jail because he found drugs in my hand. And I'm like, no way, that's impossible. Because I wasn't into that scene. I was only 13, but I had a job. So I started crying, and the nurse came in and some of my family members, and they asked me what was going on. And I couldn't talk because I had these tubes all in me, so I had to write down what he said. He said he was going to do an investigation, but I never seen him again because it wasn't true.
Next thing you know, I saw my first homicide. Then my attitude changed. Now I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6.
I ended up getting shot by this Vietnam vet. He shot me twice. Him, his brother, and a couple of his friends, they would get drunk, they would get high, and they would just start shooting people for no reason.
From that point on, I ran around with a gun, which led to me getting caught and being incarcerated again. Going to juvenile hall, getting a slap on the wrist, out within a week, sometimes same day. You're supposed to learn from that type of stuff. But when you go in there and all your friends in there, it's like having fun. I got out, started hanging with my old friends doing the same thing.
He was sentenced to a 35-year bid, and got to know him and engaged with the brother. And just because we was in jail, excuse my language, I never seen him act like an asshole towards the guards. I mean, He was a decent brother, man. Sharp brother, sharp dresser, sharp thinker. He was always on point. All the years I spent with him, I never even seen him engage a CO in an argumentative manner. He had a gift, man. He had a gift. He was just a beautiful brother. He basically ran the prison population on a positive aspect instead of a negative aspect. He was just an all-around beautiful brother.
There's certain things you can do and certain things you can't do. There's certain ways that you talk to people and certain ways that you don't talk to people. And one of these certain things you do while you're talking to people is look people in the eyes. Mexicans eat on this side of the chow hall, blacks may eat on this side of the chow hall. You know, they might have whites eat on this side of the chow hall. And then they might have a designated area for the others. You could be Samoans, you can be Asian, you can be Filipino, whatever. You know, if your race is outside these three races, then you would consider others. In the East Coast, you could pretty much play basketball with Puerto Ricans. You know, you can give, cigarettes to a white person if you want. They could put you can have a white person or a Puerto Rican person as a cellmate. There's no such thing as a black phone, a white phone, or a other phone, or this is the others play basketball right here. Mexicans it's none of that.
Opportunity to meet another brother, Naeem, that helped me get through when my mother passed away. I had in my mind that if I lost any of my parents on my stint of incarceration, that I was going to lash out and do some crazy stuff to people. I had figured I was already in there for hurting somebody. Like, what more could they do to me? And he had a talk with me, and he, told me that death is inevitable, so don't be feeling down. He was like, from God we come, to God we must return, so don't be feeling down, cheer yourself up, man. And after having that talk with that brother, I opened my mind and I really thought. He said, you got the choice. You can either go home or you can stay here for the rest of your life.
So, I get out of prison and I go home and take a shower. No, wait a minute. Actually, I had to go to parole and I sat there for like 4 hours waiting for this new person that was in control of my life. And when it finally came, they was like, I had to wear this bracelet, GPS bracelet, because of the charges that I had.
Stripped of everything in the inside. There's nothing in there. A toilet and a bed and a vent that's blowing extremely cold air directly on you. And you're chained up a black box that's over the handcuffs so that you can't move around, so the cuffs are cutting into your wrist. And then you have a chain that's in between the handcuffs that's connected to your shackles. So just put that in your brain. Then you have a jumper that they tie around your waist for whatever reason. And because you're chained up, after straddling around like this for a couple of days, because they keep you in there for 3 days, after that, the jumper usually just unties and falls. So now you got your jumper around your ankles for sometimes, chained up. You may not have a t-shirt on. You may just have your boxers on and no socks. Freezing cold. Like I'm saying, the air is blowing super hard to the point where you can't even hear people next door. Then you have people in there, some people who, you know, may be a little bit mentally ill, and they cut themselves. You know, like I said, to feel something. So they cut themselves, and then now it's blood in the cell, sometimes on the wall, sometimes on the bed, on the sheets that they give you. And it's feces as well, because a lot of the guys that, you know, are mentally ill, they'll take the feces and spread it all over their body, or spread it on the wall or the door. So you're in this cell, and then there's no button to flush your toilet. The button is on the outside of the cell, on the wall. So you gotta ask the CO, like, CO, could you flush the toilet for me? If you find some way to use the bathroom, because imagine, like I said, how are you gonna use the toilet and move your bowels like this? Some people do, I never do. And more than likely the CO is gonna tell you, hell no, asshole. You all set, I got it. Deal with it. Or they'll say, yeah, I got you. Give me 1 second. 1 second to never grab it, because they're never gonna do it. The way they built that jail is crazy, man. It's designed like that to make you feel dead, though.
Sister was willing to take me in. Like, I know it was 14 and a half years since I last seen my family. And I feel that me and my siblings had grew apart, that they didn't know me after doing all that time coming home. It was basically like, you know, I had to catch up. We caught up and kicked it and helped each other out. And it was a good experience for me, man. I just look forward to watching my nieces and my sister going to work, helping her out. It just made me appreciate life, man, being home.
My brother and my father came to see me outside of the prison. They was waiting for me. That was good. That felt good. And we went to IHOP. And like I said, when I was locked up, I used to watch these commercials over the years, and I used to see the pancakes, the syrup looking all good. And it's IHOPs everywhere, but I had never been to no IHOP ever. So we got there, and it was like a ENT climax, so I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, I've been waiting for this for all these years, and this is what they got. But it didn't really even matter because at least I was able to just sit down with my family and just enjoy myself. And I didn't have to rush because the CEO was on my back telling me, flashing a flashlight in my face, like, hurry up and eat. It's time to lock up.
I was a grown man. I was 33 years old. Came home, and I just calculated all the money orders that my parents had sent me over the course of 14 years. I looked and calculated all the money orders. It was well over $12,000 that they sent me, so I couldn't come home and ask nobody for anything. I had to get up, get out, get a job, and bring something to the table.
Cook something to eat, and got a good night's sleep. So, back to parole. So she takes me in her office, and she's like, okay, you gotta wear this ankle bracelet. Click. And I'm like, wow, I just did this time. Now I gotta finish the rest of my time with this big old thing on my leg. It was so big, and it felt awkward because, it was on this leg, and I sleep on this side. So it was aggravating, and at nights I couldn't sleep. I slept wild. I had my foot up in the air, all type of crazy ways. And even after I got it off, it still felt like it was on.
Is it for robbery? And I was like, yeah, I was ashamed. I felt like an asshole. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, yeah, it's for armed robbery. I didn't lie on the application. And he was like, well, I don't think you're a good candidate because this is a money place and, you're not a good fit. I'm no longer that person. However, they have a establishment that they have to protect, so I kind of understand why it would go out like that.
Do I have PTSD? I'd like to say no, but my old lady thinks I do. I don't know if a person with PTSD recognizes the signs unless they had some professional help. Yeah, I'm legit, but I still get nervous when I see the police.
It was Father's Day, June 27, 1996. I received the best gift in the world, my son's birth. His birth made me realize that I had to slow down from the street life because I had to be there for him. When he was 5 years old, I ended up doing a 2-year bid for drug possession. Being away from him, it really hurt me because I didn't want him growing up without a father like I did. So I made a promise to him that I'd never leave him again. My son is now, he's 22, no criminal record, no contact with police or anything. So I feel like I did a good job as a father raising him. I feel like my son, he's my second chance in life.
Luigi, what you do today? Nothing? You didn't even go to the living room watch TV or nothing?
30 times kidnapping her son. The victim ran to a nearby house screaming for help as you heard there. The child was found safe up in Worcester, Mass. Maldonado facing attempted murder, assault, kidnapping, and risk of injury to a minor charges.
Coming on, Senator Bernie Sanders is
Man, this is crazy.
To do whatever, either buy a house, buy a car or something. And then I look back on it like I spent $60 on the game. And I just spent a whole extra $40 or $60 again. You know what I mean? Like I just spent $120 on the game.
Grand theft, once you get your crew,
It's easy to make money.
Overall, I don't know if it's worth it. It's Grand Theft Auto, but at Western time. I know it's gonna sound funny, but I want to be able to drive a car. Like, you gotta have. I played the game a little bit, but you have a horse, you literally have to like feed the horse, pet the horse, and everything. If you don't take care of the horse, your horse is never gonna follow you around. So if you do something crazy, you can't get away. So it's like, you know what I mean? Grand Theft Auto, at least you can take the car.
And I was just looking around, and I was thinking that it didn't feel real. I was looking around at things. I was like, it don't feel real being out here.
She would have been died. She was dying of stage 4 cancer at the time, and you know, I wanted her to remember me. You know, as you know, as doing something positive. So when I went down there, she seen that, you know, I was working, I was supervising the crew, and I was, you know, really involved in being in prison reentry, trying to help guys in situations that I've been through, trying to stop youth from going through situations that I've been through. And when she seen that, you know, she told me she was proud of me and she loved me, and then she died after that. So, you know, with that, I know she left with good memories of me, and with that, I was content.